It's not WD-40, but it's just a similar like lubricant basically. If you've got WD-40, I'd advise doing a test if you are using a random one like this. Do a test on the old bearing just to test that it doesn't erode the material. Some sprays might not do the material any good. This is fine though. Just put a little bit in. It won't spray if it's upside down. There we go. A bit on the bearing as well. Okay, watch the wiring when you do it. You don't want to get oil on the wiring, you don't want to short out anything. Now that is quite a tight fit in there still, even with the WD-40, but it's just going to mean that it reduces the wear over time by doing that. One thing to note, I did originally intend on gluing the bearing in place, but due to how tight this fit is on this particular model, I'm not going to bother. It's not going to move at all, and I don't see it as being a problem. If you find with your bearing there is a little bit of movement and you want to secure it on the outside, you can do. It's up to you really. Just make sure you only get glue on the faces that you want to join together, and you don't get glue on the bearing on the interfering surfaces. Otherwise, that's going to mess the bearing up a bit, and you're not going to have as fine a tolerance then. On this model of steering wheel, all the wheels have a steering block to prevent the wheel from turning all the way around. On this model, you can see this block of plastic here. That interferes with the lump there to prevent the wheel turning further. So when you reassemble this, you need to make sure that that block is down at the very bottom, so that when you mount this, there's equal distance either way for the wheel to rotate. If you've got the first generation model, I believe, has got a block of plastic on the grey liner in here, and the white plastic is on the other face. So you're going to have to, it's pretty straightforward to do that. You just want to make sure that when you do it, you make sure there's equal distance either side of the block, so you don't want to end up with a situation where you can only turn it a quarter of the way one way and 3/4 the other. You need to have it even. With this model, I've got it this is actually broken here, so I'm going to go through repairing this. I'm going to use a decent sized paper clip. I'm going to snap a little bit of the metal off to make a pin, and I'm going to super glue that in there. If you can see, there's a little hole in there where it's snapped off, and I'm going to reattach this little bit here which is broken off. Again, you can see the hole in there. I'm going to hopefully a good bit of super glue should fix that. It may not be the best possible fix in the world, but it's quite hard to make a replacement part to do this, so it's a bit of a bodge job. Hopefully you'll have got to repairing your steering wheel before it's got to this state. This is exactly what I'm trying to prevent by using this better bearing. There you can see where I've glued the broken bit back off. All I did was use a big paper clip like this one here, and put that in the hole, clipped a bit off, inserted it in the hole there. This is the glue I was using. Bear with me. Using this glue to, yeah, you see it's a yellowy colour. I did it a little bit messy, but it's all right. That should, once that's dry, that should provide a good means of securing that back on, which again will just mean that when I mount this back on, it's even more solid again. So hopefully I'll get even less movement on the wheel. I'm now going to go about, once this is dry, I'm going to reattach the motor base plate. As you can see, I've slotted the motor holder back, the motor plate back on, being careful to make sure that I've got these aligned properly as I showed you earlier. Now I'm just going to do these screws back up and reattach this bit of the circuit board. I'm now going to go about feeding back on the steering wheel and pushing the wires through down the end shaft here. One thing that is a positive sign already, just in this state, you can see. There you go. You can see there's absolutely no movement in there. It's a bit stiffer than it was before, but there is absolutely no movement whatsoever in that now. So that's going to be really good. I'm going to start feeding through the wires now. can turn this around for you so you can see it better. And you can see in there the wires coming through. There's the short one's a bit more tricky. Partly because it's not as stiff, so it's not poking. There you go, it's just come out. So now I'm just pushing the wheel, easing it back on, and just being sure I've not trapped any of these wires. Okay, there you go. I'm going to go about reattaching these wires. So you can see that at the side. The green one at the bottom, so I'm just going to pop that back in. There we go. Yeah, that's fully in. Just I'm not the best with electronics, but I know it's a general good idea to try not touch as much of the metal stuff as you can. Keep your hands on the plastic, and even with the tips of the wires, there's little tiny bits of metal that you could touch. It's just advisable because I think you can short things out basically. And I know there'll be people talking about static electricity that builds upon your body. You can damage circuits just by touching them. So just be a bit careful when you do go out. Just to, even if you've got it on. If you've got it on a metal table, it's probably ideal because it grounds any static and stuff. But just try and be sensible and don't be too clumsy with it, and you should be fine. And then I'm just going to screw this last one on down here. Now I'm going to turn the wheel back over. Now you can see the wheel still does. See the wheel does still pop off slightly because all the screws aren't in fully yet. Now I'm going to go over these Allen key bolts here just to get the wheel stuck back on. So I'm going to stop recording now so I don't bore you any more than I probably already am. And putting the rest of it back together is exactly the reverse process of as you took it apart. And now it's all finally back assembled together, and you can see there's much less give and movement in that whole. It's not bolted down, so the whole thing does move a bit, but the difference between the axial movement and there's no give at all in there. It's all actually it only rotates. There's no other movement. So while it's not perfect, whilst it isn't perfect, it is a dramatic improvement on one state that it was in, and it will have increased the life of this wheel somewhat. Basically saving me money and having to dish out on another wheel, and definitely worth a try yourself if you're having similar problems. You know, I don't know what the values these wheels are when they were new. They were 60 or 80 quid, like between somewhere around there. You know, it's a lot of money just to be dishing out for another wheel. So, you know, for the sake of buying a Torx screwdriver for 3 quid, the bearing, bit of WD-40, some super glue, you know, you've revamped the wheel. So hopefully try this yourselves, see how you get on. Use the video as a guide. There's plenty of others on YouTube as well if you want to check out them. I don't know, they're pretty good. I saw some pretty good quality ones, and hopefully you have success as well. And please rate the video, put your comments below on what you think and how it can improve for next time. Cheers, thanks very much.